I want to start tonight's show with a bit of careers advice. We had a job available on the show this year. Now, this isn't an area I would normally get involved in, but in this instance, one of our producers was very keen to show me one of the CVs we'd been sent. In particular, it was the personal statement that he wanted to draw my attention to. You'll soon see why. A lot of people think that January are lazy and entitled. I'm on a one-man mission to prove them wrong. So I promise hard work, concentration, and attention to detail at all times. I know. It is hard to imagine two sentences sitting side by side like that while fundamentally disagreeing with each other quite so much. Apart from maybe, hello and welcome to All Star Family Fortunes, and tonight's guests are Paul Potts and Anne Widdecombe. We spent hours in our office poring over the sentence, a lot of people think that January are lazy and entitled, trying to work out what on earth it means, and then wondering how it's possible to have typed it while also promising concentration and attention to detail at all times. They did not get invited in for an interview. Not just because of that, but our producer did get in touch with them and say, I think quite kindly, say, you might want to rewrite your personal statement, by the way. And while I'm here, what the hell does it mean? And when you know what he meant, it only gets more confusing. Apparently, when he typed January, he meant Generation Y. I have no idea how that is possible. Is that autocorrect? We spent 3 hours in our office all typing Generation Y in as many weird-ass cockamamie ways, and not one of us could make autocorrect suggest January. To be honest, I'm really doing this young man a favour here. He needs to concentrate and pay attention to his spacebar too, because his email didn't actually say Generation Y, it actually said Generation-y. He's right, though, isn't he, in a way? He is. January is getting very generation-y these days, I mean, December's always been quite generation-y, but it's spilling over into January now as well, isn't it? Weirdly, I think the thing I find most fascinating about this is just the confidence with which this chap knows what generation he's a part of. Is that the concept of generations seems to be quite a modern construct. In the 1800s, nobody was talking about this generation or that generation or what the generation to come is going to be called. It wasn't a phrase that was bandied around back then. I think it all started, basically, with the greatest generation. That's the people who were raised in the Depression and came of age during World War II. People who overcame great adversity, whose lives were collectively shaped by cataclysmic global events. Then we have baby boomers. Again, this makes sense. There was a genuine baby boom, a huge spike in birth rates, and they are a generation bonded by circumstance. They were born into a world of renewed confidence. For the first time in a long time, parents were having children with the reasonable expectation that there would be peace in their lifetime. These are two sturdy, epoch-defining phrases. Given that this is where it started, isn't it just a teeny bit embarrassing that people are now using the phrase, the avocado generation? If you don't believe that this exists, there it is. There's the avocado generation. Incidentally, there is also the smashed avocado generation. I'm not sure if the smashed avocado generation is a subset of the avocado generation or if it is exactly the same people as the avocado generation just after 9 o'clock at night. Not quite sure. We've basically taken the word from historians and demographers and given it to marketers and lazy journalists. But then I would say that, apparently, because I'm just part of the WhatsApp generation, aren't I? Apparently. Yeah. Apparently, I would qualify as a member of that. I would also qualify as a member of the Facebook generation, the sandwich generation. I'm a perennial. I'm a member of Generation Sex. But I'm too old, apparently, to be one of the Linkster generation or the porn generation or Generation Snowflake or Generation Alpha or even the Peter Pan generation. And I've read this story 5 times and I still haven't got the faintest idea as to what they mean by the Walker's Crisps generation. I can think of a handful of people who qualify as the Walker's Crisps generation. That's all I can think of. Obviously, I understand generations in a family context. I get that. Although even that grows increasingly complicated in the modern world, doesn't it? One of my older brothers is a granddad already. He has a 4-year-old daughter as well. His grandson was born before his daughter, meaning that on the day she was born, she was an auntie. I know, that is hard to get your head round, isn't it? Let me explain it more clearly. I'll tell you what, I won't exploit my own family for this explanation. I'll exploit a famous family instead, OK? Let's just have a look at one branch of Mick Jagger's family tree, OK? So there's Mick, OK? Let's look at his first marriage to Bianca. From that marriage, he has one child, his daughter Jade, and he has 3 grandchildren also. And yeah, Mick is a great-granddad. He has 1 great-granddaughter. That ought to be 4 very clearly defined generations. But actually, his great-granddaughter Ezra was born in May 2014. And his grandson, Ray, was born not even 4 weeks later in June 2014. So on the day Ray was born, he was already an uncle to a month-old niece. Now, of course, that is just one branch of Mick's family tree. Obviously, it's almost impossible to put every branch of Mick's family tree onto one screen. You'd be a fool for trying, but let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's give it a go. Let's throw Mick off to the left there and throw a line across the top of the screen there to accommodate all of the women whose ovaries have played ball with his little red rooster. And here they go. There they go. They're all on the board. Now, let's throw in the kids, and you'll see that it soon looks like that. Very complicated. So I think that is the complete 4 generations of Jagger, arranged in a traditional fashion. But let's look at it differently. Let's take everybody off that family tree and then add them back in the order in which they were born. That way, we'll see how often we start a new generation before we've completed an old one. Incidentally, and this is really quite weird, because this is his family tree, OK? But this is the opening few bars to I Can't Get No Satisfaction. How weird is that? That is weird, isn't it? That is odd. It's not. Of course it's not. I mean, I wish it was, obviously, but you can't always get what you want. Anyway, that there is the family tree. We're adding them in the order in which they were born, OK? Obviously, we start with the oldest member of the family, and that is great-granddad Mick up in the corner there. Now, let's see how it flows. We throw the others on in the order in which they were born. Well, it's worth pausing there, isn't it, to acknowledge the situation. At this moment in time, half of his 8 children have been born, and yet this is an empty lot. The mother to one of his children is younger than 4 of his children. Melanie wasn't born until 1986. James was born in 1985. I'm not sure how this works, but I think if we apply the same logic that told us that Ray was born an uncle, it follows that on the day that Melanie was born, she was already a stepmum. That can't be right, can it? That's not right, is it? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, moving on. The next cab off the rank is Gabriel, or let's call him Uncle Gabriel, because that's what he is, as is his stepbrother, Uncle Lucas there, and we soon arrive at Ezra, who we've already discussed, and so we know that Ray was also born an uncle. There is, at this moment in time, just one space to fill. And that space is occupied by little baby Devro. Should we have a closer look at little baby Devro? Yeah? You'll notice I haven't put any pictures of the other children up, but I do love a baby picture, yeah? Do you love a baby picture? Yeah. I'm trying out a bit of new computer software, OK? Computer, find me a picture of baby Devro. Computer! Ridiculous. Now, of course, little baby Devro is not only an uncle 5 times over, but as you can see, one of his nephews is already an uncle, which is your proof that Devro is already a great uncle on the day he's born. Congratulations, Melanie, you've had a great uncle. Now, I don't want this to be misunderstood here. I'm not making any judgments. I don't want anyone to think I'm taking a moralistic stance over Mick's love life. My only point here is to highlight how useless it is thinking of a family in terms of generations in this day and age. In fact, if anything, if Mick happens to catch this when it's on the telly, I hope that his reaction will actually be, oh, that's actually quite useful. Yeah. This is making Christmas a lot easier. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I'll just...